In this video, we're going to show you how to install pads and rotors on your Nissan Murano, located behind the rear wheels. With the vehicle raised and supported, so let's go ahead and use our 21mm socket to loosen and remove these lug nuts. Grab the wheel and remove it. Now with the back wheel off, the first thing we want to do is we want to focus on our bleeder screw right here. You want to go ahead and soak this down with some rust penetrant and let this settle in for a little bit. After you've let that rest for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and use our 8mm socket on our ratchet. And we want to go ahead and break this free. Now it is spinning free. We're going to go ahead and snug that back down gently. Spray this down with some solvent a little bit, just to clean this up. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 14mm wrench, and there are two bolts holding our caliper in place. These are 14mm. I'm going to go ahead and spin this bolt out. So I'm going to go ahead and start to spin this out. Now this is a slide pin, and this goes all the way through into our caliper bracket. Now we can't remove this because this is in the way. I'm going to go ahead and break that up one free. All right, going to spin this one out. So what we're going to do is we're now going to focus on the bolts holding the caliper bracket. There's a larger one here, and then there's one down below. We need to go ahead and loosen and remove these, and we're going to remove the caliper and the bracket all as one. Now these bolts are 19mm. I'm going to use a deep socket in my ratchet to go ahead and get up and around this. Let's go ahead and break this free. Now I'm not going to remove this. I do want it there to stabilize the unit. On the bottom side here, we're going to use our 19mm box end wrench. And we're just going to continue to loosen this and remove that bolt. And you probably get this to a point where you can go ahead and grab the bolt and continue to spin it out. Remove that with the washer. Now that we have the lower bolt out, we can go ahead and remove the upper bolt. I'm going to support the caliper and the bracket together. Pull that bolt out. Wiggle this free. Now we'll go ahead and remove our slide pins the rest of the way. All right, good. Pull that out. I'm going to separate that caliper from the bracket. Just going to tuck this inside here. Now with our bracket out and our slide pins removed, we can go ahead and start with our slide pins. We want to clean these. Take a little bit of spray solvent. It's always going to be wearing safety glasses and gloves when doing this job. You want to go ahead and inspect the pin, make sure there's no buildup of rust, anything scaly, or any signs that this pin is swollen in any way. It's in good shape. I'm going to repeat this process for the other pin. Now if they are rusty or swollen because of rust or damage, you do need to replace them. One pin will have a damper on it, this little rubber bushing. Make sure that's in good condition. And our slide pins are good. Let's go ahead and transition into prepping our caliper bracket. Remove the old pads. Go ahead and remove the slides here. Just pull those out. Now we also have these rubber boots here. I'm going to go ahead and pinch these by the base and just gently work those off. You want to go ahead and inspect these here. So you want to pinch these and rotate them. Look for any signs of tearing or any weakness here. If they are torn or looks like they're starting to pull apart, you do need to replace them. now's the time to do it. And what I like to do is, you can take the handle of a small screwdriver, or in our case, it's going to be our bristle brush. Pop the rag over it, and then we want to go ahead and clean out the inside. Get rid of any of the old grease and that garbage in there. And do the same for the other. Once those are clean, set them aside with the pins. Now we can go ahead and focus on the caliper bracket itself. Now I'm going to take a little bit of rust penetrant and spray inside these ports. And then I'm going to use my bore brush to go ahead and clean this out. Then use some spray solvent and flush them out. Make sure if you're doing this, you are wearing safety glasses. You don't want this to spray back in your face. Give it a quick wipe. Now I want to go ahead and focus on the points where these slides were removed. Spray these down with some of that rust penetrant. Use a bristle brush and go ahead and start to scrub this. What we're trying to do is get rid of any of that scaly rust that might be built up on there. Now it is very important that you clean this thoroughly. If there is scaly rust on here, it's going to push up on the brake pads and cause them to bind. We're going to use a flat file to go ahead and clean out the rust that's inside here. No, we're not here to remove any metal. We simply want to go ahead and clean up the existing factory metal and get it back to new condition. Good to use some spray solvent. Clean it up. Wipe it down, do an inspection. And you're going to continue this process until you're satisfied with the cleanliness of that. That looks really good, so we're going to flip it over and repeat for the other side. Let's go ahead and take your rubber boots. You want to go ahead and line these up. I want to work this back onto the caliper. Work this back onto the caliper bracket. What I'm going to do is take a little bit of grease and want to put it on our slide pin. Now we don't want a ton on there. We do want to put some inside the boot. Yes, it's a little sloppy there. We'll just wipe off the excess later. But just smear that on that pin. And you're going to pull that boot back and work that pin in, rotating it as it goes in, just to make sure that everything's working properly there. I'm going to do the same on the other one. There we go. This is exactly what we want. All right, set that aside. And just wipe off the grease on the outside of the boot. Let's go ahead and flip this up. Take a little bit of that grease and we're going to put it right where these slides go. Just a thin coat on there. We don't want globs of grease on there. So just smear that with your glove. Wipe off the excess. And now what we need to do is, out of the kit that we are supplied, we need to go ahead and identify the correct unit for this vehicle. There we go. 2 for the passenger side, 2 for the driver's side. What we're going to do is take this and snap this into place. Do the same over here with the grease. All right, our caliper bracket is rebuilt. Go ahead, grab that brake rotor and let's wiggle that off. Before installing the brake rotor, we want to go ahead and clean up the hub face itself. We're going to spray this down with a little bit of rust penetrant, being careful not to get it on the parking brake setup in the back. And what we're really focusing on is getting rid of any scaly rust, especially around the perimeter here where the hub face meets the hub center. We want to make sure that that brake rotor sits nice and flush. If not, it's going to transfer a brake pulsation into the brake pedal even before you apply the brakes. And then use some spray solvent and clean it up. You're going to continue this process until you're satisfied with the cleanliness around here. Now I'm going to go ahead and give a coating of some anti-seize on the hub face, using the cardboard to protect the back. Now before you toss out the brake rotor, we do want to go ahead and remove the plug here. On the other side, I'm just going to push it out with my finger and pop that out. We're going to reuse this. You're going to go ahead and set the brake rotor in place here. When you receive your brake rotor, it's going to have a coating of oil on it, and it's going to be wrapped in a plastic bag. You're going to remove it from the bag, use some spray solvent, and clean the entire rotor on the front as well as the inside. Go ahead and grab that little plug that we removed from the other one and pop it into the window right here. I'm going to go ahead and thread on a lug nut. This isn't always necessary, but it does hold that brake rotor in place, so in case while you're working on the caliper and the bracket, it doesn't tilt off and cause a problem. So just thread that on by hand. And good, grab your brake caliper here. I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the piston on the inside here. And now what we want to do is we want to compress this piston back into the cup. Now in order to do so, we are going to open up this bleeder screw. I'm going to put a mat here. You can use a bucket if you want, a catch can or something. But what we're going to do is set up our tool here to push that in. Then we're going to open up that bleeder screw. Now the fluid will squirt out, so you want to be careful when you're doing this here. Break that free. You're probably going to have some fluid starting to come out like you can see here. And then we're going to push in that piston. Once that piston is bottomed out, we can then close up our bleeder screw. Give that a quick spray with some solvent. Remove our tool. We're going to go ahead and take our slide pins. Take your caliper bracket. You're going to slide this on. I'm going to go ahead and install our brake pads. You want to make sure that the pad by the piston has the squeak tab on it. Good, line up those tabs, push the brake pad inside, and do the same on the other side. All right, good, line this up, slide it over the brake rotor. So good, get your bracket lined up here. Next thing we want to do is we're going to go onto the back side and install the 2 anchoring bolts on the caliper bracket. Let's go ahead and get our bolt lined up here, and we'll just kind of wiggle this bracket around until that lines up, and we'll get that started. Now I'm going to go ahead and run this in almost all the way, but I am going to keep it loose so we have the pivotable option here to go ahead and get that lower bolt lined up and started. All right, let's go ahead and install that lower bolt. Let's go ahead and get our bolt lined up in here, work that in. Thread that in as far as you can by hand. Go ahead and snug this down. Now we're going to torque this down using our crow's foot socket here to 62 foot-pounds. Now while we're here, we're going to go ahead and tighten down our slide pins here, at least on the bottom. I'm going to go and torque this down using our crow's foot wrench to 32 foot-pounds. Let's go back up top and torque those. All right, on the top here, I'm going to go ahead and run our slide pin bolt in all the way. We'll snug that. Go right into torquing it to our 32 foot-pounds. Then we'll go ahead and tighten down the bracket bolt. And then we'll torque that down to our 62 foot-pounds. All right, let's go ahead and remove our lug nut. Now at this point here, you want to go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. When you're all done with that, go ahead and pump up that brake pedal, make sure that piston expands out on both of these here. Install your wheels, and then we'll go ahead and top off that brake fluid. Grab your wheel, get that set up onto the studs. Now we want to go ahead and start all of the lug nuts by hand. That's going to help prevent cross-threading. Once we get all these installed, we go ahead and snug them down. And let's go ahead and snug them down. Now let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. Now when doing this here, it's best to do this in a crisscross or star pattern. With the hood open, go ahead and locate your master cylinder reservoir. Before opening up the cap, I'm going to go ahead and grab some spray solvent and a rag. Spray this down and clean this. We don't want to have any debris fall down inside of this reservoir when we open it up. On the side, you're going to see the min and max line here. Make sure you're using the appropriate brake fluid recommended by the manufacturer. Go ahead and fill it up to that max line. Close up the cap. Take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.